The porch light had been flickering for 3 nights straight, and nobody in the Coleman house wanted to talk about why. Jessica Coleman was 26 the night her mother said something she wasn't supposed to say. They were sitting at the kitchen table, wine glasses half empty, the kind of low conversation that happens after 2 in the morning when everyone's guard is down. Her mom, Amanda, laughed about something unrelated, then said it. Just a passing comment to Jessica's dad, Ryan. Your mom's stalkers used to park right there too, remember? The room went quiet. Ryan's jaw tightened. Amanda's face went pale, like she'd just realized the words had left her mouth and there was no getting them back. What stalkers? Jessica asked. Nobody answered right away. That silence, the way it stretched out too long, told Jessica this wasn't a joke, and it wasn't nothing. It was something the family had buried a long time ago, and she'd just accidentally dug it up. Ryan finally spoke. His voice had changed, gone flat and careful, the way people talk when they're choosing every word. I was about 10, he said. So your grandma, Diane, she would have been early 30s. There was a man. He wouldn't leave her alone. Jessica leaned forward. Something in her chest tightened. Some old animal instinct telling her this story wasn't going to end easy. How bad was it? Ryan looked at his hands. Bad enough that the police got involved. Bad enough that it didn't stop for years. Jessica had never heard this. Not once. 26 years old, and her family had a ghost story they'd never told her, except it wasn't a ghost. It was a man. A real, breathing man who had picked her grandmother out of the world and decided she belonged to him. Tell me, Jessica said. Ryan poured himself another drink before he started, like he needed it. And that was the moment Jessica understood this wasn't a story you told sober. It started small, Ryan said. Diane noticed a car outside the house that didn't belong to anyone on the street. A sedan, dark blue, parked just far enough away that you could almost convince yourself it was nothing. She'd catch it there in the mornings when she left for work and again at night when she came home. She mentioned it to her husband Frank, Jessica's grandfather, but he told her not to worry. Half the street parked wherever they wanted back then. Then came the letters. No return address. Handwriting that started out polite, almost sweet, and grew colder with everyone. Diane didn't keep them. She wishes now that she had, because when she finally called the police, she had nothing to show them except her own fear. And fear doesn't hold up well as evidence. But the officer who came out that first time, Ryan said, he listened. Really listened, in a way that made Diane feel like someone finally believed her. His name was Officer Daniel Hayes. Youngish, calm voice, the kind of presence that settles a room. He told her they'd keep an eye on the house. He gave her his direct line, said to call any time, day or night, no matter how small it seemed. For a while, it helped. The blue sedan didn't come back. The letters stopped. Diane started sleeping again, and then the cat went missing. Ryan stopped talking there. He looked at Jessica like he was deciding whether she could handle the rest. Dad, she said, what happened to the cat? He didn't answer. He just reached for his phone, and for one strange second, Jessica thought he was going to show her something. A photo. Proof. But he just checked the time, like he needed an excuse not to say it out loud yet. Tomorrow, he said. I'll tell you the rest tomorrow. I need to sit with it first. Jessica went to bed that night with her stomach in knots, replaying the way her mother's face had drained of color, the way her father's voice had gone flat and rehearsed, like a man reciting something he'd spent years trying to forget the wording of. She didn't know yet that the story he was about to tell her wasn't really about a stranger in a blue sedan. It was about the officer who showed up to help. The next night, Ryan sat Jessica down before dinner even started, like he wanted this over with before his appetite could talk him out of it. The cat, he said, was named Whiskers. Stupid name, I know. I was a kid, I picked it. He said it like the memory embarrassed him, like grief needed a little humor wrapped around it before he could touch it directly. One morning, my mom went out to get the mail and found him on the doormat. Somebody had taken him. Days before, he'd just vanished, and we figured he wandered off. Turns out he didn't wander anywhere. Jessica's stomach turned. What do you mean? He'd been stabbed, left right there on the mat like a message. Ryan's voice cracked slightly on the word message. Like even now, decades later, it still landed like a blow. My mom screamed so loud the neighbors came running. Jessica felt sick. Did the police do anything? Officer Hayes came out personally. Said it was clearly connected to the harassment, said he'd escalate it, and for a while it felt like he was really trying. He started coming by more, sometimes just to check in, sometimes because my mom would call him over the smallest things. A noise outside, a car she didn't recognize. That sounds like good policing, Jessica said carefully. Ryan gave a small, humorless laugh. That's what we thought too. He explained that Hayes started parking outside their house in the evenings. Not always on duty, Ryan realized later, just parked there, watching the street. Diane found it comforting at first. She'd bring him coffee. They'd talk on the porch for 20, 30 minutes at a time. He knew details about her life that felt oddly specific, but back then nobody questioned it. He was the police. He was supposed to know things. Then came the rabbit. Ryan's hands tightened around his glass. We found it hanging from the porch railing, a noose made out of garden wire. My dad had to cut it down before I saw it, but I already had. Jesus, Jessica whispered. After that, the man in the blue sedan just stopped. Completely. My mom said she hadn't seen him in weeks. You'd think that'd be a relief. Wasn't it? Ryan shook his head slowly. That's when Hayes started coming around even more, letting himself in through the back if nobody answered the door. My mom said he had a key at one point. Though she couldn't remember giving him one, she just accepted it because he was the one keeping her safe. Jessica felt something cold slide down her spine. Dad, are you saying... I'm not saying anything yet, Ryan said quickly, too quickly. I'm just telling you what happened. He described the weeks that followed. The way Diane grew quieter, more withdrawn, spending long stretches of time on the porch, just staring at the empty street like she was waiting for something. Frank noticed it too, but every time he brought it up, Diane brushed him off, said she was just tired, just stressed from everything that had happened. Then came the family trip. A week away, arranged months earlier, the kind of vacation you don't cancel because life had already taken enough from them. We almost didn't go, Ryan said. But Hayes told my mom it'd be good for her, said he'd keep watch on the house while we were gone. Jessica's mouth went dry. You left him with the house? Ryan didn't answer. He just stood up from the table, walked to the window, and stared out into the dark like the memory itself was standing there waiting for him. We came home a week later, he said quietly. And nothing about that house ever felt the same again? Jessica opened her mouth to ask what he meant, but her dad turned around, and the look on his face stopped every question in her throat. I can't tell you the rest tonight, he said. I need daylight for this one. Daylight didn't make it easier. If anything, Ryan looked worse the next afternoon, like the story had kept him up all night rehearsing it. We got back from the trip on a Sunday, he said. I remember because church let out early that day, and my mom wanted to get home before traffic. She was in a good mood. First good mood I'd seen from her in months. He paused, staring at the table like it might give him strength. The front door was unlocked. We figured Hayes had been by to check on things and forgot to lock up. My mom didn't think twice. She walked straight up to her bedroom to unpack. Jessica braced herself. She started screaming before she even got the suitcase open. Ryan's voice thinned out, almost childlike, like he was 10 years old again standing in that hallway. Her bed was covered. A dress of hers, one she hadn't worn in years, laid out flat like someone had dressed an invisible body. Her underwear arranged next to it. And photographs, dozens of them, pulled from every room in the house, every album, every frame off the walls, family photos, photos of me, photos of my dad. He swallowed hard. Every single one had my dad's face torn out. Not cut, torn, like whoever did it needed to feel it ripping. Jessica felt her whole body go cold. Who called the police? We did, obviously, and Hayes showed up within minutes like he'd been right around the corner. He acted horrified. Said this proved the stalker had escalated, that they needed to take it seriously now. He walked through the house collecting evidence, bagging photos, dusting for prints. My dad watched him the entire time. Didn't say much, just watched. Did your dad suspect him? Not yet, not fully, but something in him had started to shift. He began writing things down. Times Hayes came by, how long he stayed, when the harassment happened versus when Hayes was and wasn't on shift. Ryan explained that for a while after the bedroom incident, nothing happened. No letters, no blue sedan, just silence, thick and suffocating, the kind that makes a house feel like it's holding its breath. Then one night, Frank saw a car pull away from the house just after midnight. Not the blue sedan. A different car, one he didn't recognize, but something about the way it left. Quiet, no headlights until it hit the street, made his stomach drop. He didn't wake Diane. He got in his own car and followed it. He told me later he'd never done anything like that in his life, Ryan said. Wasn't the type, but something took over. He followed that car for almost 20 minutes before it finally pulled into a driveway on the other side of town. Whose house was it? Ryan looked up at Jessica, and for the first time in the whole conversation, his eyes had real fear in them, old fear, the kind that never fully leaves a person. Officer Hayes's. The word hung in the air between them. My dad sat outside that house for almost an hour, Ryan continued, watching the lights go on and off inside, trying to convince himself there was some explanation, some reason Hayes would be sneaking home at midnight in a car that wasn't his police cruiser. Did he ever find out why? Ryan shook his head slowly. No, but 2 nights later, my dad caught someone actually inside our house. Not near it. Inside. And that was the night everything came to a head. He stood up from the table, the same way he had the night before, like his body couldn't stay seated through what came next. I'll tell you what happened in the house tomorrow, he said. But I need you to know something first. That night changed my father, changed who he was for the rest of his life, and I'm still not sure the man who walked out of that house was the same man who walked in. Jessica barely slept that night. She kept picturing her grandfather, a man she'd only ever known as gentle, slow to anger, sitting outside a stranger's house in the dark, watching lights flick on and off, trying to convince himself the world still made sense. The next evening, Ryan continued like he hadn't stopped at all. It was a Thursday, he said. I remember because I had school the next day and couldn't sleep, some kid thing, nerves about a test. I heard a noise downstairs around 11, figured it was my dad getting a glass of water. He paused. Then I heard him yell, not scared yelling, angry, the kind of yell that comes from somewhere deep, somewhere a person doesn't usually go. Jessica held her breath. I ran to the top of the stairs and saw my dad standing in the living room, holding a baseball bat. And there was a man near the back door, halfway between us and the exit. I couldn't see his face clearly, just his shape, tall, thin, wearing dark clothes. Was it Hayes? I don't know for certain, not to this day. My dad swears it was him, said he recognized the build, the way he moved, but it happened so fast. The man bolted the second my dad screamed, ran out the back door and into the yard. My dad chased him, actually chased him, bat in hand, out into the street. Did he catch him? Ryan shook his head. The guy had a car waiting, not the blue sedan. Something else, parked a few houses down with the engine running, like he knew exactly how fast he'd need to leave. What did your mom say? She didn't say anything for a long time. She just stood in the kitchen doorway, shaking, staring at the spot where the man had been standing. Later, she told my dad something that still bothers me to this day. Jessica leaned in. What? She said she recognized his cologne. The silence that followed felt heavier than anything Ryan had said so far. Hayes wore the same one, Ryan said quietly. She'd smelled it 100 times sitting with him on the porch. Jessica's skin crawled. So it was him. We thought so. My dad reported it, gave a full description, everything. And here's the part that still doesn't sit right with me. Hayes was the officer who took the report. They let him? There wasn't anyone else available that night. He sat right there in our kitchen, wrote everything down, looked my dad dead in the eye, and said he'd, quote, look into every possibility. Ryan let out a breath that sounded like it had been held for 30 years. After that night, my dad stopped trusting anyone in a uniform. He started keeping the bat by the front door, started sleeping in shifts, an hour here, an hour there, just so someone was always awake in the house. My mom got quieter, smaller almost, like the fear had started living inside her permanently instead of just visiting. How long did it go on after that? Almost 2 more years, Ryan said. Smaller things after that night. A slashed tire, a window found unlocked that they knew they'd locked. Little reminders that someone was still out there, still paying attention, even when they couldn't see him. And then, Ryan looked at his daughter for a long moment. And then one day, it just stopped. No warning, no explanation. Hayes transferred to a different precinct a few towns over, and the harassment ended at almost the exact same time. My parents never got a straight answer about whether the two things were connected. Did anyone ever investigate him, officially? There was an internal review years later after some other complaints started surfacing about him from other women in other towns. But by then, he'd already moved twice more, changed departments twice more. Nothing ever stuck. Jessica sat back in her chair, her mind spinning through everything her father had just told her, trying to fit the pieces into some kind of shape that made sense. "Dad," she said slowly, "is he still out there? Hayes?" Ryan's face went still in a way that scared her more than anything he'd said all week. "That," he said, "is what I need to tell you tomorrow. Because 2 months ago, something happened that made me think this story isn't as finished as we always believed it was." Jessica showed up the next evening before Ryan had even finished setting the table. She couldn't wait any longer. "Tell me," she said, "right now." Ryan sat down slowly, like the weight of what he was about to say needed a controlled descent. "2 months ago, your grandma got a letter," he said. "No return address, just like the old days. Handwriting she said she recognized instantly, even after all these years." Jessica's stomach dropped. "What did it say?" "Just one line," Ryan said. "I still think about the porch." The words landed in the room like something physical, something with weight and cold edges. "That's it? Nothing else?" "That's it. No threat, no signature. Just that one sentence, and somehow that was worse than anything more direct could have been." Jessica felt her pulse pounding in her ears. "Did she call the police?" "She tried. But here's the thing. Hayes isn't Officer Hayes anymore. Hasn't been for over a decade. He left law enforcement entirely after that internal review finally caught up with him. No charges ever filed, nothing ever proven, but enough pressure that he resigned quietly and disappeared from public record." "So where is he now?" Ryan shook his head. "Nobody knows. Your grandma hired someone privately to look into it just to see if they could trace who sent the letter. They tracked the postmark to 3 different states over the past 6 months. Constant movement, no fixed address anywhere." "That's insane," Jessica whispered. "There's more," Ryan said. "The investigator found something else. Something none of us knew. Turns out Hayes wasn't just a police officer harassing your grandma on the side. There's a pattern going back decades. Other women, other towns, always the same setup. He'd insert himself as the protector first, gain access, gain trust, gain a key to the house, sometimes literally. Then the real harassment would start, disguised as him investigating someone else. In every single case, there was no other man. There never was a stalker." Jessica's blood ran cold. "The blue sedan, the letters before Hayes ever showed up, were probably him too," Ryan finished. "From the very beginning, he created a threat so he could become the solution to it. That's how he got in the door in the first place." The room felt smaller suddenly, colder, like the walls of the Coleman kitchen had absorbed some of the same dread that had lived in that house decades ago. "So, the cat," Jessica said slowly, "the rabbit, breaking in, all of it, was one man the entire time," Ryan said. "Building a nightmare specifically shaped to make my mother need him." Jessica pressed her hands flat against the table, trying to steady herself. "Where is he now? Really?" "We don't know," Ryan admitted. "The investigator lost the trail about a month ago. Last confirmed sighting was a gas station about 90 minutes from here. Grainy security footage. Could have been him. Could have been anyone." "And the letter," Jessica said. "I still think about the porch. Why now? Why after all these years?" Ryan didn't answer right away. When he finally spoke, his voice had dropped to something just above a whisper. "Your grandma's birthday is next week," he said. "She's turning 70. We're having the party at her house, the same house." Jessica felt something twist deep in her chest, an old fear finding new shape in a story that had started as ancient family history and had just become terrifyingly present. "Dad, you're not still going to have it there. Not after this." Ryan looked at her, and for the first time since this conversation began, he looked genuinely lost. A grown man staring down a fear that had never actually ended, only gone quiet for a while. "She won't leave," he said. "She says if she moves now after all this time, it means he finally won. Says she spent 40 years refusing to let him take that house from her, and she's not starting now." He glanced toward the window, toward the dark pressing against the glass, and Jessica saw something flicker behind his eyes. Not quite fear, something closer to certainty. "So next week," Ryan said quietly, "we're all going to be there, every one of us, in that same house, on that same porch, celebrating a birthday, and hoping that whoever sent that letter was just an old man remembering something from a long time ago." He paused, "and hoping he isn't standing somewhere close enough to watch us walk through that door